Joshua was going to connect with a bomb.
Yeah.
And breaks his jaw in 2 places.
Yeah. And
his jaw's wired shut now. He lost teeth.
He probably cooked. He should retire, man. That was a clear
retire?
Check. Hell yeah. That was a clear reality check, bro.
Yeah, but it's a reality check to stay in your own division or...
He was literally running. Look at some of those rounds. He was running. He was going north to south, not side to side. He was running.
Joe Rogan strongly advises Jake Paul to step away from boxing following his devastating knockout loss to Anthony Joshua, making it clear that staying in the sport puts him at serious risk. Rogan stresses that the harm caused by fights like this doesn't stop when the bell rings, but can follow a fighter for the rest of their life, damaging memory, mental well-being, and emotional balance. He cautions that repeated blows to the head can result in lasting depression and severe brain-related issues. In his view, no paycheck or fame is worth giving up long-term health and quality of life.
Severe brain imbalance that's going to lead you to addiction. It leads so many people to impulsive behavior. So many people become gambling addicts, drug addicts, alcoholics after their fighting career.
Yeah.
It's you could only take so much. And at a certain, like that one that he got from Joshua, ooh, you know, say if you have like a punch card, you have like so many punches that you can get in your life, which I believe you do. I believe there's a certain number. That one was like 10 punches.
Yeah.
That was like, it was a lot of concussions in that one punch.
Sure.
That was real damage. Like if someone's breaking your jaw in 2 places, the inside of your fucking head there's a...
Psychologist Derek Van Schaik explains that Jake Paul was in serious danger during his fight with Anthony Joshua. He points out that the volume and accuracy of Joshua's punches, including a clean right hand that broke Jake's lower jaw in 2 places, could have led to a far worse outcome. In the closing moments of the fight, Jake's body language showed clear fear and exhaustion as he began to understand how bad the situation had become. Trapped and defenseless, he appeared to silently beg Joshua to stop, his facial expressions revealing shock at a level of power he had never faced before. Van Schaik emphasizes that this kind of punishment doesn't just cause physical harm, but can also lead to lasting psychological and neurological damage. The fight made it clear that Jake was outmatched, and continuing to face elite-level boxers could put his health and safety at serious risk. Experts overwhelmingly agree that after enduring trauma like this, stepping away from boxing is the smartest and most responsible decision for his long-term well-being.
To limit the number of punches he threw, and also aim a little lower to land that clean right-hand punch on the side of Jake's face, which fractured his lower jaw, still hospitalizing Jake Paul, but not actually killing him.
If Anthony Joshua won, Anthony killed this guy. Rolls-Royce, Fiat.
The variety of emotions we see in the final moments of the fight are fascinating. AJ finally corners Jake, hits him with a quick left-hand jab to the body, which lowers his guard, opening up a clean right-hand shot to the head. You can see AJ smile there when he sees Jake had fallen into his trap and knows that he's about to finish him off.
And then you just keep exploiting. Some people give up, some people get knocked out.
Jake's body language and facial expressions when he knows it's all over for him is a little sad as he whimpers in the corner with that scared, nauseous look on his face, realizing this may be his final moment on earth.
If I get hit with that shot, I'm screwed. I don't believe he's gonna hit me with those shots.
You gonna hit him with that?
100%, and land that right hand that he says is my only weapon.
If you look at Jake's eyes and face, he's pleading for mercy to AJ as if he's a child. Please don't do this.
Some people get knocked out.
It's actually quite surreal that the moment many of us were concerned what happened to Jake actually happened in real life.
If Jake Paul is left, you know, up against the ropes with Anthony Joshua, unloading on him, could be the end for him, literally. It could be his last day on earth.
Jake Paul was helplessly exhausted, badly beaten, and cornered where AJ could have unloaded a flurry of clean punches on Jake. When he takes that clean right shot from AJ, breaking his jaw in 2 places and then falls to the ground.
And his chin served on a platter, and look at Jake Paul's face. He knew it right away. He said, woo!
Some wondered why Jake had that emotion of excitement. Do you know why? When he was cornered by AJ, Jake's amygdala.
The boxing world responds with heavy criticism, with many saying Jake Paul has been completely exposed and needs to retire right away. His bout with Anthony Joshua was seen as a brutal wake-up call, making it clear he cannot compete with top-level fighters. Fans and analysts highlight that the knockout and sustained damage he took show just how dangerous it would be for him to continue. A large number agree that walking away now is the smartest decision to protect his health, career, and long-term future.
cooked. He should retire, man. That was a clear
Damn,
reality
retire?
check. Like, hell yeah, that was a clear reality check, bro.
Yeah, but it's
He
a
gotta
reality
retire.
check to stay in your own division or, you know, don't jump in class so far up. Not retirement. He ain't get slept. Like, you don't give him
Well,
no
look-
respect for that?
Hell no. Gang.
What?
I'm saying look at his list. It's all high-level boxer. And you seen what just happened when he stepped up to a legit boxer? He got cooked. He got to retire, man. He either got to retire or start fucking with these misfits boxer dudes. He ain't gonna make it with that kind of skill level, man. He
Netflix
looks
ain't
like
gonna take a misfits type of fighter, bro.
Going up against a larger and taller opponent, Jake Paul kept dropping to one knee, putting himself in serious danger. Each time he went down, he risked major ligament damage, similar to what happened to Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in his fight with Sergio Martinez, which ended up hurting his career long-term. On top of suffering a broken jaw, Jake's repeated falls under Joshua's 260-pound weight drained his strength as he struggled to rise again and again. Analysts point out that he hit the canvas more than a dozen times, exposing poor planning and messy technique. His bold talk about knocking out Joshua only made the difference between hype and reality more obvious. Fans and experts agree that despite all the buildup, Jake's showing proved he was outmatched, worn down, and physically vulnerable, making it clear that continuing at this level is reckless and extremely dangerous.
You're in there with a bigger, taller person, so keep taking the knee. First of all, your knee, you can get ligament damage. Remember when Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. was losing every round to Sergio Martinez, and then Martinez fell to the ground kind of weird? He messed up his knee. He was never the same fighter. So you got a broken jaw, but you could have tore ligaments in your knee by having a 260-pound man, fall on top of you because you keep making it sloppy and falling around and spilling about. And even if you don't like rupture something or tear a ligament or whatever, it's not really much better than someone leaning on you. Do you know how much energy you exert by having to be like 220 pounds or whatever, 216, and keep picking yourself back up? Like I seen a thing, I didn't count myself, but it said there were 12 or 13, maybe 14 times that Jake Paul was on the canvas. Horrible strategy. And Netflix, I don't even see how they would like that. And for me, this generation they're chopped, bro. Jake Paul did all this, and y'all want me to give a bunch of credit. Jake Paul did all this talking about Joshua getting knocked out. You did whatever to sell the fight, but you didn't make good. That doesn't make you look good when you talk crazy and talk spicy, and then you have no intentions of fulfilling that. And then you got the Jake Paul fans and the Andrew Tate fans, because they lost kind of back to back, where they're trying their hardest to turn this into some inspirational story. Like, oh, as long as you try, it doesn't matter. No, Andrew Tate said, what do you...
Joe Rogan explains that Jake Paul had never been in the ring with someone like Anthony Joshua and had never felt that kind of force coming at him before. After facing Joshua, his body absorbed a level of power it was completely unfamiliar with. The crushing punch that shattered his jaw in 2 places likely caused serious damage beyond the fracture itself, possibly impacting his brain as well. Rogan stresses that this goes far beyond a simple injury and should be taken as a clear warning about the risks of fighting elite-level opponents. He cautions that damage like this can carry long-term effects that aren't always obvious right away.
Yeah. I'm sure he could make 190.
Yeah.
Anthony Joshua's gigantic.
So big.
He's so big. He's so much bigger. So, of course, like, his punch that he knocks Tyron Woodley out cold with, Joshua just eats it.
Yeah.
Because he's a giant.
Yeah.
He's a fucking giant man.
So big, dude.
He's so big.
I give Jake so much credit for stepping into that ring.
Bro, he got hit with a bomb,
Yeah.
a right-hand bomb.
When he got hit with that too, I don't know if enough has been made of the fact that, I mean, it was absolutely devastating. But the fact that he had awareness immediately to go like he looked at the crowd
he's
like, oh shit, like wow.
He goes,
it
I
wasn't
got
like
cracked.
Yeah.
I think he went into that fight knowing that was probably going to happen,
Yeah.
and ultimately, the big win for him would be that he was even willing to do it, and that he could do well for a...
Analysts say Jake Paul was lucky to make it through his fight with Anthony Joshua, noting that he dropped to his knees repeatedly and hit the canvas several times during the bout. Even so, Jake later claimed he dominated Joshua, a statement many experts dismiss as absurd given what actually happened in the ring. Observers point out that Jake's main goal appeared to be money, not competitive success, and for that reason they argue he shouldn't receive exaggerated praise for the performance. Unlike casual fighters or internet personalities who box briefly for attention, Jake had already logged 12 professional fights and taken 2 real losses. Those defeats did not come against washed-up or weak opponents, but against legitimate competition, showing that his record has been tested at a serious level. Analysts stress that simply lasting against a world-class heavyweight like Joshua is not the same as winning or controlling a fight, and inflating Jake's showing distorts the truth. They emphasize that proper evaluation requires context, especially when judging his claims about skill and achievement. Ultimately, they argue the conversation should focus on the real physical risks fighters face, not exaggerated money-driven or social media-fueled narratives.
A boxer who had a 12-1 record, well, he's 12-2 now, lost against the 2 boxers that was young and healthy and who trained boxing and not from a different sport or over the hill or retired. Okay? You treat him like a boxer. Stop calling him a YouTuber. Stop calling him, because this is what they're doing now. We saw all the predictions. Y'all didn't see the predictions where everybody was shitting on Anthony Joshua and not putting respect on his name, acting like he's going to get knocked out? Tyson Fury said it. Oscar De La Hoya said it. Drake put $200,000 on Jake Paul. Nate Diaz said Anthony Joshua was going to get knocked out. David Hay picked Jake Paul. Let's not forget, right at the press conference, they went on the whole panel and asked who would win, Anthony Joshua or Jake Paul. And everybody was saying Jake Paul. Ridiculous. We're going to get into the disrespect of Anthony Joshua. So let's treat him like a real fucking boxer. Because he is. When I said once, this is what I told everybody. Once he actually fought Tommy Fury, who was the first boxer he fought. Once he fought a boxer, win or lose, I said, now I count him as a professional boxer. I'm not counting you as a professional boxer when you're fighting NBA players, other YouTubers, MMA fighters who are even just fucking wrestlers and BJJ practitioners like Ben Askren and
Brendan Schaub makes it clear that the idea of Jake Paul beating Anthony Joshua was never realistic in the first place. He says there was no true path to victory for Paul, no matter what fans believed. While some people argue that anyone always has a puncher's chance, Schaub calls that way of thinking uninformed. In a real professional fight, especially against an elite fighter like Joshua, a puncher's chance simply doesn't exist. The difference in size, power, and skill is overwhelming. Even if Jake punches hard for a 200-pound fighter, he still wouldn't rank anywhere near the top heavyweight boxers in the world. Schaub explains that if the fight had been promoted honestly, the real question should have been whether Jake could survive the rounds without getting knocked out, not whether he could win. Staying on the move and trying to avoid damage would have been his only realistic option. Any storyline suggesting Jake could control the fight or land serious shots was misleading. The discussion shows how the puncher's chance narrative distorts the reality of elite boxing and creates false expectations for fans watching the fight.
Not can Jake Paul beat Anthony Joshua? That's insane. That's not real. That's not real in any facet. There was never a chance. There's never a chance. And the Jake Paul fans, and I was getting this a ton from DMs and comments going, well, everyone has a puncher's chance. That's an uneducated opinion. A puncher's chance, yes. If they're in a bar and Anthony Joshua's there at the pub and Jake Paul were to sneak up behind him and hit him in the back of the head or, in the side or something, maybe, even then, he's a little light in the ass, but maybe that's a puncher's chance. In a professional bout where a professional fighter at the level of Anthony Joshua was at, and he is going into a ring knowing and expecting to get hit, there is no puncher's chance when there's that much discrepancy in talent level. There's not, especially when the size difference. And some of you will say, Jake Paul hits hard. To you, yes, to you. But also, Jake Paul hits hard for a 200-pound man. He wouldn't even measure in the top 1,000 professional heavyweight boxers in the world as far as the strength knockout meter, if there is such a thing. It's not possible. So a lot of you were tuning in for saying, well, he has a puncher's chance. That's not real. That doesn't exist here. And now they could do this, but I don't think it's going to get the same amount of views, but it would set expectations. If when this fight was announced, Jake Paul's team said, hey, we're fighting Anthony Joshua. Who thinks we can last 8 rounds? Who thinks we can go all 8 rounds? Who thinks Jake Paul can go 8 rounds?
Sugar Sean O'Malley points out that Jake Paul showed real nerve by promoting the fight and stepping into the ring with an Olympic champion like Anthony Joshua. He explains that facing someone at Joshua's level means confronting intense fear and dealing with serious internal pressure. Even with the danger clearly present, Paul truly believed he could win, talking himself into the possibility while still understanding the risks involved. O'Malley notes that there was a thoughtful game plan in place, using a large 22-foot ring to stay mobile, slow Joshua down, create frustration, and look for clean openings. Although Paul did manage to land a few solid punches, Joshua's size, durability, and experience allowed him to take them without much trouble. O'Malley emphasizes that lasting in the fight and attempting to execute that strategy took bravery and preparation, not luck, and that stepping in under those circumstances required confidence and calculated decision-making.
Jake was shooting double legs, too.
Shooting double legs, nice
duck
ones
unders.
with ankle picks, duck unders. But dude, God, I see so much people talking shit on the fight, which, dude, what the fuck did they expect? Like, Jake was hyping himself up, saying he's gonna win. Dude, that's self-belief. He needed that to go in. He needed that to get himself into the ring. You know what I'm saying? He just needed that.
What do you think about the sticking that tongue out?
Dude, he's a showman. This is a fucking YouTuber that switched to pro boxing.
Yep.
And he's fighting Anthony fucking Joshua. He made $90 million, $7.5 million per minute. Nate Diaz says that boy don't work hard enough. This girl in the UFC said Jake Paul shot more double legs in boxing match than I did in my UFC career. Ryan Garcia said he's a runner, he's a track star. Al Germain said this is a clown show. Josh Hammond said, dude, it's like, what did they expect? They expect him to go in there and look like a clean fucking Floyd versus Manny Pacquiao. Two of the, you know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck?
You see the aftermath, like his jaw and everything? Fuck.
Jake Paul's broken jaw. Jake has to get wired shut for 7 days or something like that.
Yeah, like titanium
Tim had to do
plates.
7 weeks.
Yeah, Tim says that's the worst thing he's ever gone through.
7 weeks. Tim broke his jaw in Montana. Tried to go to the hospital. Hospital said the surgeon's out of town. So now he has to. So he's fucking goes like a week without even getting surgery. At least Jake was able to probably get it like next day, that same day. But it's like all the people hating on Jake. It's crazy. Connor said Jake is stupid and will be altered permanently from this bout. I look at it. It's inspiring seeing what he does because I know how much like he's putting in work. He's doing legitimate fight camps. He's doing sparring. He's doing rounds. He's eating. He's doing everything.
Sergio Mora shares his frustration with what he saw in the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight. He points out that Paul spent most of the bout moving straight forward and backward, rarely shifting side to side, which actually made it harder for Joshua to land clean punches. Mora notes that even when Joshua had Paul cornered, he didn't attack the body or fully capitalize on his size advantage. Analysts observed that Paul often leaned into Joshua during clinches, making Joshua appear more passive than he really was. Mora emphasizes that Joshua shouldn't be judged harshly. Facing a smaller fighter who refuses to engage can make even an elite heavyweight look ineffective. He compares it to Canelo Alvarez versus Williams, noting that running for survival against a smaller, unskilled opponent is very different from facing a trained boxer. Mora concludes that Paul relied heavily on a single overhand right, landing it only once, and it achieved very little, highlighting his inexperience and dependence on hype over real skill.
Like, to your point, Jake Paul wasn't so much moving laterally all the time. He was literally running. Look at some of those rounds. He was running. He was going north to south, not side to side. He was running. Anthony Joshua should have been able to cut the ring off. And the times that AJ had Jake Paul cornered, he couldn't get shots off. He wasn't going to the body. He wasn't using his superior size on Jake. Like, I heard Nikisa Badarian say afterwards that AJ was leaning on Jake. Come on. Like, Jake was leaning into AJ, falling into AJ, and that's why those clinches were taking place. AJ is purportedly one of the best heavyweights in boxing. AJ believes he's on the level that he should challenge Tyson Fury. That wasn't the kind of performance that makes me believe Anthony Joshua is still a high-level heavyweight.
Well, you're wrong again. Anthony Joshua didn't look great because he wasn't allowed to look great. When you're in there with a smaller fighter that refuses to engage, refuses to box, to fight, he's running. Think of Canelo Williams' school. Canelo didn't look good, and he got accused of not being able to.
Okay, can I just 1 second? 1 second. I knew you were going to go there.
Oh,
Williams' school is or was an undefeated 168-pounder with a deep amateur background. Jake Paul is a guy who lost to Tommy Fury with no amateur background. So don't compare the two. Don't compare Williams' school to Jake Paul. It's not the same thing.
No, but I can compare a man running for his life.
That's a wrap for today's video. Stay tuned for more updates, and we'll catch you next time.